Hey, this is Andrew Brown from the AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp, bringing you another video, and this time we are going to talk about how to write or ask for help in the Discord when you run into a technical issue. And the reason I'm making this video is that I'm just seeing a lot of people asking questions, but they're not doing the way that we would like to see them done. This is not specific just to this bootcamp. This is like knowledge you should have and you should do every time you ask a technical question to other technical folks because it's considerate. It shows you put in the effort, and it shows that you are a team player and you're working together really well. So what I've done here is I've launched the Gitpod application or Credder application in Gitpod, and I've purposely janked it. So there is something wrong with it, and the idea is that we are going to look at the solutions, but that's not what's important. What's important is how do we ask the question to get help. And so in the Discord, I've created a empty channel here that I'm going to write into. And so if we go here to the Credder application, let's say we are working on the notifications feature. This is something that it was assigned as homework. And if I go here, I get something here. So I see something. What is it? So if you had this problem and you go like this and you take, I don't have my phone, but if you take a screenshot or say like, I'm stuck on this, right? Okay, I'm going to paste that in here. Help, I'm getting this problem. Okay. This is not a very good way to ask a question because I don't know what the problem is. I mean, I know this is a 404 issue because I've seen it before. I already know the answer, but I'm just saying like I'm not being provided much information. I don't know the URL of it. I don't know the actions that you did prior to it. I don't know what the outcome is. So this, I don't want to see this. This is not good. Okay. Also like I can't even read any of the text. So if you wanted to make it easier, what you could have done is gone like this, and then we would have saw that it's a 404 error. So we'll highlight this and we'll provide a bit more information. So I'm gonna take another screenshot and we will paste it in here. So I'm getting a 404 error when implementing the notifications. Okay, I followed the instructions exactly as described in the video. Okay, so we can see that's a 404 error. They're suggesting that they had followed the rules. They're saying what they're trying to build. Not enough information. Still haven't showed adequate proof of effort to solve it on your own. So like you have a 404 error, but what did you do to try to solve it? Because there's a lot that you can do to show how you're debugging it. And so that would be the next step, I would say, is to show proof of what it is that you did to solve it. Or what did you research? So you might go out to the internet, and I mean, this is not going to be very useful, but you could say, what causes 404 errors, right? And if you've never encountered a 404 error, then at least I know if you share that and you just think, I don't even know what a 404 error is, I know at least what level or skill you're at. Or you could say like 404 errors with React, right? And so notice the first page is talking about this. It says using React router, 404 error. The 404 error occurs when you're trying to visit a page or website that the server cannot do something. And it says try installing React router. So the thing is that I randomly Googled, I didn't think this was going to help, but it turns out it is relevant because if you go over to the app here, we are using React router, right? And the issue around here is about the URL. So it's giving you an indicator of where the problem is. I can already tell what the problem is. There's a spelling mistake. So if I go over here and I copy this over here, okay, that will resolve the spelling mistake, okay? Blank information, so it's still broken. But my point is that we used Google and we collected information. Now, if that didn't solve your problem, you could have brought that information in the ticket and said, I'll go here. I'll go back over to Discord. So we go here. I'm going to update this. I'm not familiar with 404s. Errors. I know we're using React, and it's indicating something about React router. I notice we have React Router installed. So I'm wondering if that's my issue. Okay. Or it's something else. Okay, so now we're seeing better proof of effort, right? They have a link. We'll just take that out there. They are showing that they're saying like, this is what I know, this is what I'm learning, and I'm getting closer to the problem. Now, if you shared this, it's still not the best answer or the best way to ask a question, but you are providing more information. And I could have said to you, good job on making the effort to try to figure it out. Yeah, the issue probably is with React Router. Keep digging on that. Now, if it is with React Router, how would I know that there's something wrong with it if you want help? Well, that's where you would provide the code. So we have code over here about React Router. And so what you could have done, if it's around this page, you could have took the whole page like this, okay, copied it, and then brought the code into here. So you might do make this a thread and say, here's my code. Okay. All right, now we see the code here. And that's better because now we have code and we can verify, I can look at it. The thing is that this, it could be better because if you're trying to read this code, it's not very easy to read. If I go to edit, I can add 3 backticks. Okay. And now it formats it. Okay. This could be better. Instead of just having the backticks and formatting it so it's easier to read, we could say what it is. It's JavaScript, JS. Now it's doing syntax highlighting. Okay? So, you know, I want to help you, but you have to put the effort and time in showing that you are doing the work, lifting your legs and doing the heavy lifting here to get help. And so I could have gone through this and saw that the problem was here. Now, some people might post snippets because it might be too long. So you go, well, I don't want to share all of this because I don't want to flood it or there's limits. So you might take out exactly the code that you think is relevant. So you might go here and say, well, here is, I think it's with this. So I'm just going to share this part of it, right? So you go here, right? And we'll go up here. And I'll just close my Teams. I am recording right now. And I'll go down here. And so I just indicated 3 dots to say there's more code. We'll say JS. Okay, and so you're saying there's a lot of code here, but I think it's here and you're trying to be considerate. But if we need more code, we need to see the whole thing. How could you provide it? You could drop it in a gist. So you could go here and go to gist.github.com, right? And you can copy the entire contents, right? Say here, this is my app.js for Crutter. Issues with 404 error, maybe with React Router. Okay, the file extension here would be, this is app.js. If you name it, it should color code it. We'll hit create a secret, right? That's nice and easy to share. I could even make revisions and correct it for you if you gave that to me. We'll go over back to here, and we'll paste that in as like full source code. Full source code on our entire app.js on what's it called? Gist. If I seem tired, I am tired. Okay, so we go here, and that's great. Now remember, these repos are public, so you could commit it to a branch, and you could point us to your repo. You could go here and say, well, there might be more moving parts, right? It might not just be that isolate piece of code. So you go there and say, well, I committed it here temporarily in my main, so it's broken, but I know that I have to get through it, so I put it here. And you could go and link us to the direct file. So I go here, into the source, into the app.js here, and now we can copy it. We can go back over here and say, down here, here is the exact location of the file in my project. I committed it to main. Okay, like if you just paste me a link without the actual code or that where we can replicate the problem. Now, remember I said I want you to use Gitpod. You know why I want you to use Gitpod? Because your repos are public, and I can press a button and launch your environment and help you. So if you're using a local developer environment, if you're using something that is not what we said to use, then it limits the ability for me to help you. It's also like when you work in an organization, you know, some are more flexible of what tools you can use, but sometimes team cohesion is better. And so, you know, it might not be code editors, but it might be like, hey, we're all using Microsoft Teams or we're all doing this stuff. So you really do have to consider that it's not always about your preference, it's about team preference and team agility. So that's why we are using Gitpod for one of many reasons. But yeah, so this is getting better. There could be better information around it. So like we see there's a 404 error, but there's stuff in the inspector that we could do. So we can go over here and we can go back over to Crutter. And so we are getting the 404 error. I can open up inspector. Inspector is very useful because it shows us errors. A lot of times it starts on the what's new tab, which is useless. We always want to close that out, go to console, and console can tell us if there's any errors. Now there's these WS errors. These are superficial errors. These are not a problem, but notice here, no routes match location notifications, right? That is the error that we're looking for. We can go to the network tab, scroll down here, scroll up. I think I can pop this out here for a moment. It's over here, I think. This does pop out somehow. Maybe it's just my screen's really small. I'm going to shrink down here for a bit. So we see this WS here. I'm going to go over here. Sometimes you have to refresh to see it. So we're seeing a bunch of files. This isn't very useful to see all this stuff. We're looking for the problem. So what are we trying to hit? Notifications, right? And here I see this URL here, notifications. So if we go to response, it's coming back here and it's returning nothing. But notice no routes match this over here. So maybe it doesn't make a whole lot of sense what is going on here, but we are getting this error. So what I could do is go like this, go here onto this one here, go to the headers, see that we are making a request. Oops, we will go back up. Sorry about that. Gotta drag this off screen. I know my Mac hotkeys better than I know my Windows hotkeys. Okay, so we go here, right? And so we can see now more information. We can see the endpoint that it's hitting. We can see this down below here. But this looks spelt correctly to me. So what I'll do, I just want to make sure that this is applied. So we're replicating the old error here. Okay, I'll go refresh. Yeah, it is. And so we go back over to here. And we can see that it's hitting this, but we're getting a no routes match. So go up here for a second. Control. I'd have to remember the hotkeys. I'm thinking I'm on a Windows machine. So we do this. And so now we're getting more information. We're capturing the console. We're capturing the events here. We're capturing what was happening. Is there a 200 being returned? We can see a 404. We can see the URL up here. So you're getting a lot more information about what is happening. So I'll go back over here to our Discord, and I'll paste this in here. So we go here and say, here I inspected the network, and I noticed there are issues. There, it's returning a 200 for notifications. I am seeing an error in console about notifications missing. Okay, so we have the screenshot and it captures more information, but if you want to make it easier for the person helping you, get the text out of there. So we'll go back over to here, and I'll just drag this off screen for a moment. And so what information do we get out of here? Well, we can see that there's this error here. So we take this, grab that, go back over here to this. And I'll say down here what I saw. So there is this. That's the console error. Okay. That's probably the only one I would pull out of there, so we can see that. Right? So anyway, we're going here, we're seeing notifications. This looks correctly, it's going to this URL. So what would be the next thing to debug? Well, I mean, we're getting 404 here because this URL is wrong. So if I go back and go here again, we're still having this error. So I'll go back over here and close this out and go inspect. We'll go to network. We'll hit refresh. Okay, we're still seeing the same error. So if you brought all that information to me, what I would do is I would have been able to tell you that the issue was with that spelling mistake. So some of this information helps, some of it doesn't make it clear, but I can go here and I can tell you that if you do this, notifications, and update it, right? Now, other thing is that if you've made changes, you could go to your repo, commit those changes to show me that you did make the attempt to apply them, right? And then you can show me that you are where you are, because I can only guess what you're doing. I can't see it for sure, so you can rule that out. So now we have a different problem. We have, this is fine, this is still 200. And notice that it was saying 200, but we're getting a 404. So this is the interesting thing about React. It's like React will always serve up with 200, even if it's wrong. Or at least I think it will, because it's client side, it's not server side. The client is rendering properly. So that's why that was misleading, but we knew from the link there. But notice here we get a 500, so we can see it in red. We can see what it is. We can go to the response or preview, kind of maybe get an idea. There's no information there, so that's not going to be useful. And so now we'll scroll up, and we just get a CORS issue, right? So I'll drag this up to make it a bit easier. Now, if you're taking good screenshots, I don't need you to bump up the font like crazy. I'm doing this for you so you can see what I'm doing right now. But we're trying to capture useful information. So what we can see is we can see that this is in red, this is 500. We're seeing an error here. We get the URL on the top. We can see that this is empty, right? That there's nothing, there's no data. So I'll go here, I'll copy this, right? And we'll go back over to Discord. And so imagine that I've helped you get past that one part. Now you have the second problem. So you go, all right, well, I can see that I have so you can say, I am seeing no data being returned. It's just blank in the UI. I inspected the network, and it's returning a 500 error. There is no response. Here it would be the fact that we have, I see an error in console about CORS. About CORS, okay. And so you could grab this error. You could even grab both of these here, both that are red. This WS stuff is not very useful. We'll go here, we'll paste that in, we'll go here, and we'll hit enter. There's nothing to format here. There's no like highlighting syntax for this. We'll just hit enter. And so we can see it. You have to decide, like, is this a mess to read, right? If this is a mess to read, you got to go here and you got to make it easier, because I can't tell the difference between the first line and the second line. So we go up here and we can see this axis ends at the disabled. So I'll go back into this, and there's this one here, and there's this one here. Okay, we hit enter, and that is more digestible, right? It's all about making it easier for the person that's helping you. You are doing the work. You're showing that you're trying to solve it by yourself. And so we can see this one and this one, and so it's going here to notifications. Now, I know this isn't a CORS issue because the URLs are the same for the back and the front end, and if you took a screenshot here, I would have gone in here and looked at the URL in the top here. I'd see this one matches with the other one, so it's not a real CORS issue. There's something else going on here, and that means you have to go start digging in the code. And you should be digging in the code. Even if you get a CORS issue, don't stop. Go poke around. So in this case, 500 errors coming from Let's have to sneeze there for a second. This 500 error is coming from the backend, so it's probably a backend issue. So what can you do to debug it? You can go and print out code. You can go over to here. Where is it that you think you're supposed to go? Well, the first entry point is the app.py. Then we go down below, and it's supposed to hit notifications. So we go down here, and it's supposed to get into here. So the thing is, you're supposed to be constantly testing and checking where are things going and loading, right? Where is it breaking? Is it breaking at this part of the code? Is it breaking a later part of the code? Where does it stop? So I go here and I could say print f debug cores. I'll do 1 here, right? It could go into this function. So I'm going to go over here and figure out where that is. This is over under our services. And we go into the notification activities. And we're going to say print f to debug cores. We're getting deeper into the problem. I'll go down here. I'll go to the bottom of here. I'll say paste. Whoops. Here. Debug cores 3. Right? We can go after this and say print debugs core 4. So we're going through it all. We're trying to figure out where the breaking point is. Like where is it, like does it throw an error at a particular point? This is a very easy way to debug. So we will go back to our app. We will refresh. We'll go back over here and we will check the logs for this container. So on the left-hand side, we're going to go over to containers. We're going to go, wait a moment here. We're going to go up to the Flask app. We're going to view the logs. And we're going to see if any of our printings work. It says printf is not defined. You know why it's not defined? Because I'm getting it mixed up. It's probably just print. I use a lot of languages. I can't remember what's what. So we'll go here and just put in print. If it's not print, we'll change it to something else. That's totally fine. And so what we'll do is go back here. We'll refresh. And we can see here. Do we see any of our debugs? We get a 500 error here, and it's saying app.py in the line here. Type error function. The view function for data notifications does not return a valid response. The function either returned none or ended with a return statement. So none of these logs worked. There's a hard stop somewhere in code. It's failing the syntax completely. Now, if we had a linter installed, which we're not using in this bootcamp, but if we had a linter, it would have told us. So it's saying the data notifications did not return a valid response. This is data notifications. Did not return a valid response. What is the response? It's the return. It has a 200. It has data. Is the data valid? What is it expecting return? It returned none. So it's saying data is none here. That's what it's telling us. Or ended with a return, or without a return statement. Or ended without a return statement. Well, there's a return statement here. Let's go in here. Go down below. There's no return here. We type in return, we go here, we do refresh. But my point is that, you know, now we can see the debugs here. So sometimes code, it depends on the language, but sometimes code will execute to a point. And so this is a way of doing that. You can implement breakpoints. So go Python breakpoints. Okay, you could read up about that. Like how can I inspect and interact with the code? Right? That's something you can research. So you have to show that you've made good effort to debug everywhere. And so if it was this, I mean, we solved it, but you could have said, if you ran into here and did not understand this, even though the error is in front of you, sometimes people don't notice it. You could go here and copy this error, right? And you could push this code and then paste the commit. So you go here, back to the app, or back to here, and you'd say, investigating the backend. This is what I put some logging or print commands to narrow down the error. It didn't even run any of my prints. It just returned an error. Okay, in the logs. And you could say here, like, I went error according to logs in the container. Okay, we hit enter, go down here. Okay, so if this is a mess, I could drag it out, but you can see I can read it. I would have gone here and I would have said, hey, look at the last thing. It says return without a function. Read the last line again and go check out data functions. And then you'd work through it. And if you still were stumped, then you could come back. But the point is that you need to figure this stuff on your own. You have to make good effort, improve. Whenever you post a question, I want to see this every time from everybody. There's no reason to come here and just say, I have a problem, I'm stuck. Because we're not here to feed you the answers. You will not learn anything. You will not make Red Squad because this is not what this kind of boot camp is. One other thing I want to say is just do not send me screenshots of your computer. So some people, they'll have a problem, right? So their computer's here and they'll take a photo of their computer, of the code, and post it. It'll be mobile or something. Don't do that. That is very annoying because it's like on an angle, you can't copy the text, you can't see it, it shows that you put the least amount of effort in. Please do not do that ever. I've seen it so many times that I'm really getting tired of it. But yeah, this is how you would write a good question. You're providing lots of information, detail, and that's what I want everybody to do. If you do get really stuck, put it in your journal and make it a section, and we'll count that as good troubleshooting skills. So hopefully that helps, but there you go.